Okay. What is the message? Where have I seen it before? How does the message, what is my message? And why have I not been a part of this message before? These are all kind of questions that we're hopefully going to answer this time. But what does the message have to do with this step in particular? Okay. Well, this step, it says, we tried to carry this message to addicts. Well, what is the message? The message is whatever the result of your spiritual awakening is. So, whatever experience you've gone through, that plays a part in your message. And it's not just everything you've gone through, it's everything you've been a part of, everything you've been exposed to, et cetera, is a part of your message. And where does it start? Bro, it starts all the way back to as far as you can remember. Some people's story and their message starts all the way back to before they were even born. Maybe their message starts with, my mom and dad, who knows what your fucking story is. I don't know what your fucking message is, you know what I mean? But maybe you have some sort of crazy message that starts all the way back then, right? Now, whatever experience you've gone through has caused you to have this spiritual awakening and caused you to have this message. Let's just start simply. Has anybody ever raise your hand if you've been to rehab before? Okay, so most of us have been to rehab before. What is your message about rehab? If somebody was like, hey man, rehab, yay, nay, meh. Like, what's your message about rehab?
I wish I would have done it sooner.
Wish you did it sooner? Okay.
That's my first time in treatment.
It just depends on where you go, I think. I would say to make sure you find the right place for you.
Let me write this shit down. Wish I did it sooner. Find the right place. Depends on the place. What else is your message about rehab?
Rehab, it's a quick step out of your environment and gain coping skills.
Okay.
But it takes work on your part.
It only works if you work. Once you gain life skills too.
It's a place to detox.
Yeah, it's just a place to start. That's all it is. For me, that's all it was. Rehab didn't do a whole lot for me. It was just a start. What helped me was working the 12 steps. But I did have to be, defogged. I had to be detoxed. So it's just a starting place. First step.
I mean, it's easy to stay sober here.
Yeah.
It's safe. It's a safe place. And then it's a place to come up with a strategy so that when you do go back out into the world, we can implement that strategy.
Yeah. Get a relapse prevention plan set in place. That's the key to, all of it, is have a relapse prevention plan that you can put it on my refrigerator. That was vital to me.
How did you gain this message? Like, what did you have to do to have that message?
For me, when I made the decision to go to rehab, I kind of gave up all control and was like, okay, I'm going. I'm gonna do what they recommend, and that included like the medications, the detox, and I was just like, I always told them just whatever you think is best. So I just gave up control because I know when I was trying to control my life, it was not going right.
So part of your message would be like to give up control.
Well, yeah, in order to get help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you gain this knowledge? So I mean, it's almost like an awareness. I wish I did it sooner. Make sure you find the right place because I've been to the wrong place before. It's a place for you to step out of your environment to gain coping skills, to, to put the work in, to be the person you want, to work it, to gain the life skills, to detox, yada, yada, yada. Right. How did you gain that message? Like, what experience did you have to go through to know that about rehab?
Well, my experience in rehab too, just like I was able to give up control, but then like now I feel like I'm at a point where I need to start taking control, and so I'm talking to the nurses about getting off medications that I feel like are extra, or ones that I don't want to be on long term and don't want to be on high doses that'll make withdrawals harder. So it's like it's kind of like I don't know, kind of like giving up control, letting them do the work. You know, kind of mutually working together, but just allowing them to sort of shape you. And then once you get a clear head, that's when I started like realizing, well, if I let them do everything that they want, I'll be on. At least for me, I was going to be on. Like I am on too many medications. I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't know. I still struggle with whether or not knowing to trust them to put me on all these medications and for the good of my sobriety, or whether I should take control. So I'm still like questioning it, but I know I need to like start questioning things again.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else?
Pain, a lot of pain.
So
You know,
go ahead.
knowing that if I continue on this path, I'm gonna die. Losing stuff, losing my job, losing my, doing things that for me are morally wrong and doing it anyway. Self-hatred, self-loathing, I mean, all of it, just a total nightmare.
Is this your first time in rehab?
No, I was in rehab back in April.
So not only did you have to go through all of that pain and everything to gain this message about rehab, but you also went to rehab.
Yeah, I mean, last time I went to rehab, I had this great job, and that was the thing. I'm like, I'm not giving up this job. This job is my identity. This money is my identity. Like, all of this is my identity. I'm not giving it up. Like, even though people were telling me, resign from the job. This job is not good for you. And I would listen. I'm like, I'll do the 30 days. I'll be fixed. And I'm going back to work.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I had my own plan. And it didn't work. So now I'm to the point where it's like, just tell me what to do. It's like I'm desperate.
What was your idea of what rehab was before you went to rehab? Did rehab fulfill what your expectations were the first time you went, or did you imagine it being straitjackets and this and that? Like, what was your idea of what rehab was? And then what was your experience the first time you went? Were those expectations fulfilled or not?
I don't think I really had any real idea of rehab. I just thought 30 days and I'll be well. I'll because I had long-term sobriety. So I'm like, I just need 30 days to get back on track, and then everything will just work out now. And that's just not, it didn't work. It didn't work the way I thought it was going to.
How is this time in rehab different from your last time in rehab?
Well, I didn't turn my will and my life over to the care of God. I didn't turn my will over. It was still, I had so much self-will. And then I was just gonna make it happen. I still had, I still was more focused on worldly things and material possessions and my status and my pride and then turning my will over to God. I didn't surrender.
Thank you. Okay, keep going. And
now I have to. I have to. I'm desperate because I don't know what's best for me. I thought I did, but I don't, clearly.
watch this. I'm just going to do my own anecdote. Okay. Rehab now versus then. Just consider how is your life different? Back then, I was 25. Now I'm 33. Just age alone plays a major factor in how one may perceive rehab, their experience in rehab, their time in rehab. You know, getting a therapist who's, having a therapist who's 30 when I'm 25 is different than having a therapist who's 30 when I'm 33. Being in rehab when I'm 25 is different being in rehab than when I'm 33. Being in rehab with no family, right, is different than being in rehab with a family, with 2 kids and a wife and a fiance, right? That's a major difference in treatment and recovery and what led to that outcome as well. You see what I'm saying? Like what led to somebody getting to rehab when they're 25 versus 33 is different. You are different. You are not the same. You are older, maybe more damage, more experience. You know what I mean? You see some people being in rehab younger, and then by the time for alcohol, then by the time they get to rehab when they're older, they're there for drugs. Even considering just 6 months ago, maybe someone was in rehab 6 months ago. Your life then versus now is a lot different. It's different. You've gone through different experiences. You've been exposed to new things. This stint in rehab is not the same as the last one. Why are you treating it like that? It's not the same. It's a totally different experience, right? I have caused more. Perhaps I've caused more damage. Perhaps not. Perhaps I had a lot going for me before, and I really didn't fuck up too much. I caught it just in time. You know what I mean? So this is not the same. This is an entirely new experience. Why? Because you're not with the same people you were with before. You're with a whole new group of people. You're with a whole new set of circumstances, a whole new set of personalities and emotions. And who chose this? Like you don't get to choose who you're going to recover with. You don't get to choose who's in rehab. You don't get to choose who moves into your room. You don't get to choose how these moments are going to impact your brain, what being exposed to these things do to your brain, to your body, to your future. You don't get to choose that. You don't get to decide that, you know? And it's like, what is going to make this different? What is going to make my experience? I mean, like you said, I thought I was going to die. Bro, I thought I was going to die, right? Just consider everyone who's in this room at one point probably thought that way too. We're all working on trying to figure out not just how to not die from alcohol, but how to have a great life, dude. And maybe, just maybe, today, God has given me these people. God has given me this moment right here as an opportunity to learn how to be healthy, how to be a better person. And if I just take a second to look around, I can be grateful for where I'm at in life. I can have a spiritual awakening of gratitude, right? I can maybe start perceiving my environment as something that's helping me instead of something that's just in my way, or whatever the case may be, right? And where is this message that I'm looking for that's going to make me think this way or feel this way going to come from? I have no idea, but it ain't going to come the same way it came last time. Well, maybe it comes the same way, but it's going to be in a different environment with different actors in different roles. And that is a part of my powerlessness, is I can't know what the future is going to hold. So I need to be willing and able and comfortable to just trust this nurse, like to just trust these people who are giving me these medications, even though I don't really trust them. I just have to trust them, because that is a part of the process of becoming who I'm trying to be. And it starts here in recognizing that, where is this message coming from? Not only is the message coming from the past experiences that I've had and the lessons that I can learn from those experiences, but it's also coming right now, every single moment, as my brain is being exposed visually, auditorily, smell, sound, sight, taste, etc. I'm constantly being bombarded with the message, and that bombardment of this message may generate a spiritual awakening if you can't generate it yourself. Thank you for waiting to share, my friend in the background.
Well, I was gonna say I haven't been to rehab more. I've only been once. This is my first time in PhD, but thinking about just like, had I gotten sober 5 years ago, my marriage could have been salvaged perhaps, or, however, that being said, had I gone, and then I can think like, had I gone a year ago, I may have had expectations that I might be able to salvage my marriage. However, she may have made up her mind, and then I would have left with heartbreak. This time, or, in rehab now, it's like, we've talked about separating. We've discussed it prior to coming in. I had held hope for a little bit, and then, after about 15 days of getting sober and having a clear mind, I was able to talk to her and have a conversation, realize that we were separating. But with that comes a lot of freedom. And I don't know, I guess maybe I still feel young and adventurous, so I want to still get out and travel, and so it's affording me the opportunity to do that, where I never would have had that opportunity before. So I, again, just kind of have to trust the path that I'm on, and know that it's not going to be easy, but it's, there's good that will come from it, and it's working.
And yeah, man. I think when you go to do your inventory, right? You may be looking back on that relationship and see some arguments back 5 years ago, right? That were just about drinking. You know what I mean? That were strictly about using. Like, that was the message back then. And we were unable to see the message. You know what I mean? Unable for it to just could not, it was just impossible for it to register. And why is that? Dude, there's a lot that goes into that, right? Like, just consider anecdote, ready? When I was 17 years old, I was brought to a AA meeting by a friend of mine who got like his second DUI, I think. And he was like, yo, I'm going to this meeting, come with me or whatever. And I'm like, word, smoke me up. So we're smoking blunts, doing cocaine on our way to a fucking AA meeting. I'm 17 years old. We get to this church. I'm like, what the fuck is this, dude? He's like, it's in the basement. I'm like, this is shady as shit, dude. We go down to this basement of this Massachusetts Catholic church. It's like, I'm from Massachusetts, so it's like this large stone, cobblestone church. You know what I mean? You got to walk down to the basement. It smells like, you know, basement church smell. And it's just, I remember walking in and sitting down. It's a whole bunch of older dudes, 40s, 50s, you know, and the meeting starts and they start sharing about DUIs and ruining relationships and this and that. And I'm like, dude, I ain't supposed to be here. Like, this is not where I'm supposed to be, you know? And, I remember they were like, they told me to keep coming back. Like, they must have smelt the fucking weed on me. You know what I mean? And they were like, keep coming back, bud. And I never went back. I remember saying that was dumb as fuck. I would never, ever. You have to go to those meetings, dude. I didn't go back to a meeting until I was 25. Does that make me a bad person? Does that make me an idiot? Does that make me fucking dumb? Because I was 17 high on drugs in a meeting where it's fully about recovery and I was unable to see the message of recovery? No, dude, that makes me a 17-year-old kid using drugs. Do you remember when you were 17? Can anybody tell you anything, dude? You know what I'm saying? So I'm not a bad person. I'm powerless. I'm powerless. You see what I'm saying? So what would make me able to when do I gain this power? When does the message become abundantly clear that I have to be sober? I mean, perhaps that was the message back then, but I was unable to see it. How many more moments in my life was there? I remember getting high near the end and seeing stop signs as a message to stop using. Seeing red lights. I would look at a red light and be like, damn, bro, God needs me to get sober, bro. You know what I mean? And it's like, why all of a sudden are moments like that not being experienced in my life now? Because I'm not at a bottom? Why do I have to be at a bottom to receive the message of recovery? Why can't I just be open-minded, a little humble, and see these parts of myself and prevent it before it happens? And I mean, the message that you have is on a foundation of your experience. You know, the message that, I mean, anybody else, when was the first time you experienced the message of recovery? Do you remember your first meeting you went to? How old were you? Did you listen? Did you believe it? What was your experience with, like, the first time you came into contact with recovery? What was that message like for you?
For me, I was made to go, and I was probably or 20, 25, 26, somewhere in there. And I just thought it was just a junk food. I mean, I just didn't get anything about it. And like when I come into treatment this time, the first class I walked in, the guy was talking about, it's your, like, because I even say it when I called the treatment center, I was like, I don't need those 12 steps. I've worked them and they don't work. Anyway, but when I walked in on the class, he was talking about narratives we tell ourselves. And he's like, you might have a narrative about working the 12 steps. And I was like, it hit me. I'd never worked the 12 steps. Never, not once. Anyway, and so for me, I mean, it's just been a total 360.
Dude, just consider that, right? You didn't choose to walk in and have this dude say some shit that was going to stick with you forever.
Right.
You ever been to a meeting? Like, go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry, but it was just the answer. I mean, that's what I needed to hear right at that moment. It was the first thing that came out of his mouth the minute I got to treatment. Because I walked in, he was already teaching the class the day I arrived.
How crazy is that?
My life.
And it's like, maybe there's been moments in my life where a message like that has been given to me, but I've been outside smoking a cigarette. I've been on my phone. I've been, high or drunk or whatever the case may be. I mean, anybody else? When was the first time? And I mean, you don't get to choose that this guy that you've never met is going to say this profound shit. Like, I remember one day I went to a meeting. I have no idea what day it was. It's just it had to have been a Sunday because it was at the 101 Club in Pompano, Florida. And I walk in and I sit down and this guy gets up there and he says, so what, now what? So what? You're in rehab. Now what are you going to do? You're going to ruin it? You're going to do something about it. So what? You're an addict. Now what are you going to do? So what? You made this mistake. Now what are you going to do about it? So what? Now what? I have never heard anybody say, so what? Now what? Since that time in my life. And it's like, if I was outside smoking a cigarette, if I was just like on my phone, if I was reading a book, if I looked at my buddy and said, yo, dude, did you catch that game last night? You know what I mean? I could have missed this fucking message that's been trying to be pushed on me for who knows how long. Who knows how long people have been trying to tell me this shit. And I've just been dozing off, doing whatever I'm going to do and justifying it, saying it helps me focus. It makes me better. Not a big deal. Who cares? It's just a meeting. Oh, is it? Is that what you're just gonna look back at your life every day as just another day? It's just another day, right? If I was to give you $1 million, would you be happy?
Yeah.
If I was to give you $10 million, would you be happy? Yeah, even more happy, right? Would you take that $10 million from me? If I'm like, here's $10 million. Do you want it? No strings attached. Here's $10 million.
I would take it.
Thank you. Yes, of course you would. I hope you would, because otherwise you would miss out on $10 million. What if I said, here, you can have this $10 million, but you do not get to wake up when you go to bed tonight. You die tonight. $10 million. Tonight you die. Would you take it? No?
I think when I was using that, I would probably say yes. And just make the most of it.
There's no point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like,
So I give you $10 million and you die, today's your last day on earth, you would not take that. Which would make what?
You can't take that money with you when you die.
Right. Which would make today worth $10 million. And you're just going to let it go. You're just going to let it blow on by. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, there's so much value in today if you take time to see it, if you take time to appreciate it, if you see these moments as blessings that God has given us and see them with gratitude, because some people don't wake up tomorrow. You know, some people, they would fucking pay $10 million to wake up tomorrow. But you know what? When you're at that point in life, money can't save you. There's no amount of money that can save you when you're at that point. You know?
I have a question for you.
I would love a question.
Would you take $10 million to use again?
What? If I took $10 million, would I use again?
If I gave you $10 million, would you sniff a line of cocaine?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Show me, come to my fucking house with $10 million cash and one small line of cocaine. I will do that. Thank you very much. I'll take that cash.
If I,
I'll check myself into rehab too.
I'll give you $10 million and we're going to go out and get pain.
And get pain?
Yeah, we're going hard as a motherfucker. You got $10 million, but we're going hard.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
No, that I won't do. Nope.
All right. I'm just curious.
Too much risk, dude. You know what I mean? Risk versus reward. The risk of doing a line of cocaine and getting $10 million in return, in my literal opinion, not clinically as a person in recovery. Yeah, bro. Have you ever seen what 10 million cash looks like, dude? Yeah, you know, sure, I'll do that. And then I'll fucking have Narcan. I'll not only do that, but I'll have Narcan on right there. I'll hire a medical staff. I will have a ton of people present, taking my blood pressure, getting me hooked up to $10 million. Just stand there. Make sure I don't fucking die, bro. All right, I'm trying to fucking live. I'm making this money, dog. Get at me. And I would make it. I would make it happen. Yes. So it's a great question. Is that a bad answer? Does that make me a bad person?
I had to make it for anyway.
Oh, that's okay. Whatever. Hey, I don't think I'm ever going to be in that situation. So, okay. Let's read. So going back, you just never know when this message is going to come, which means I need to at least have some sort of conscious contact, going back to the step before, some conscious contact with my surroundings so I can gain knowledge and power to do what I have to do to get to where I have to get. The message of recovery used to be brought to me when I was in active addiction by other addicts, right? Other alcoholics. Most of the time when a guy was talking to me about rehab, it was when he just got out of rehab and I was buying drugs off him and we were using together. So my idea of rehab was, oh, cool. You go, you do 30 days, you get out, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Not knowing that when I went into rehab, they started feeding me a different message than I had ever heard before. They're preaching things like long-term sobriety and being sober forever and shit like that. And dude, it was difficult for me to see that far, to even conceive something like that. But you know, when you take it one day at a time, maybe each day, I remember thinking to myself, each day, maybe I'll hear something that'll help me in my recovery. Maybe I'll go through something that'll help me in my recovery. If I hear one sentence a day that can help me in my recovery, then after a week, I have a paragraph, right? After a year, I have a chapter. After 10 years, maybe I have a book. And it's like, that is how you increase your knowledge and gain your message about recovery. You acquire it from other people or experience, right? When you see people doing research papers or whatever the case may be, they're getting that information from either going through the experiment themselves or running an experiment and gathering data and information, right? That's the same thing that you have to do to develop your message. But in order to acquire that message, you have to go through the data. Now, most of the time, what leads people to working this step is pain. It is fear of death, et cetera, et cetera. We don't want to end up in jail. We don't want to end up in institutions, et cetera, et cetera. And there is a lot that we could talk about when it comes to the message, but I'm going to save that for next week because, I mean, how long is this? Okay, we're going to watch this. So what I'm going to show you is, hold on, one last thing. Your message is your unique experience, and that experience is useful to someone, okay? Like someone out there needs you to stay sober. They need to hear what you have to say. They need to learn from you. And if you don't stay sober, then they never get that message. And just think about all the times people tried to give you this message, both positive and negative. Some of them were good, awesome things that led me to come to this spiritual awakening, this awareness. And some of these messages were bad ones. Like jail is not a good way to come into contact with this message. Maybe a family member telling us to get our shit together is actually a great way for us to receive that message. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm just being open-minded. Maybe the divorce is a great thing that could happen. You know what I mean? Not saying it is or it isn't, but we don't know. I can't tell you what the future is going to hold. Who knows? Maybe you guys get divorced and you meet someone who's perfect for you, even better. I don't fucking know. Maybe it works out and you guys actually hash these things out. And she learns how to support you and you learn how to be sober and make it through this. Dude, there's no telling what the future is going to hold. But just for today, there may be some things that happen in your life that are going to be signs and indicators of what that answer might be. And if I'm naive or mixed up in my emotions or trying to be cool or trendy or worried about what people think about me or whatever the case may be, then that may deviate me from hearing this message and learning this information on possibilities, on what they could be or whatever the case may be. Now, there's just so much to talk about in 12th step, right? I mean, we're only talking about the message now. We also have to talk about practicing these principles in all of our affairs. All of our affairs. What does that mean? How am I going to do this? How am I supposed to practice honesty at work? That's so difficult. How am I going to practice open-mindedness here in this area? Don't need to worry too much about that. We are going to talk about it at some point, but for the most part, I'm just going to show you that there's a lot to talk about. So it goes all the way. This is about the message. Message goes all the way through all this, and then to addicts. So how do I know who to carry the message to? We carry the message specifically to addicts, not someone who doesn't identify as an addict, because you already know how that feels when you're being prompted about your addiction and you haven't recognized yourself as an addict. So where do I find these addicts? You're probably going to find them in 12-step meetings. You're probably going to find them in rehab right now. Like your message right now that you have at 2 days sober, whatever, is valuable to somebody just coming in at 1 day sober. And seeing your message as already having value may show you how the more you continue on this journey, you're continuing to generate value through your experiences. And then that's pretty much it. So that is the plan for next week, just so you guys know. When I come back on Friday, we're not leaving yet. I don't want anybody to think I'm showing a video. So I am going to show a video, and that's going to take us through to the end of group. This is a TED Talk with a guy who almost died and became interested in hospice care. The reason that I show this is because we basically experienced a near-death experience. I mean, whether it was near death, whether it was rock bottom, right? We are now bestowed with this opportunity to live life in a different, more transformative way. And I would say that this is the same opportunity that people have when they are in cancer remission, or when they survive a major accident, or some crazy thing happens to them and they're granted with a new opportunity of life. And it's basically should be talking about how to optimize the use of that life just by changing perspective and appreciating the little things that life has to kind of offer. So this is maybe you guys have seen this. It's from a guy who has one arm. He lost his arm and his legs. Anybody seen this one?
I did.
Not both his arms. There's one guy who has no arms and no legs who wobbles around. This is not him. This is a guy with one arm and no legs. A little different. I know a lot of people have seen the other one, but maybe you've seen this one, maybe not. What really matters at the end of life, and I'm showing this because for a lot of us, we may have felt as if we were at the end of our life, and you're not. So hopefully this inspires you to live your second new opportunity to live life and smell the roses.
Well, we all need a reason to wake up. For me, it just took 11,000 volts. I know you're too polite to ask, so I will tell you. One night, sophomore year of